in the mushroom, yeah. So the mushroom then, when it collides with a scorpion, becomes poison. The scorpion doesn't need a collision event with the mushroom though, because nothing happens to the scorpion in specific. It just keeps moving until it gets to the end of the screen, in which it then waits until it gets to another step, calls that respawn, and the respawn actually will wait a while before it will actually respawn the scorpion. So then we have the spider. The spider works very similar to the scorpion, where it moves, also works on a step system. However, this one, it just moves up and down, multiplied by the speed, and then how many steps you're taking. It's right here, so it's got the step, moves in the speed until you get to the next step, and then it changes directions. The next move tells it if it needs to move down or if it needs to pick a new move. So when it moves up, it knows it needs to go down, and if it moves, then when it gets here, it gets to decide if it wants to go up and down or if it wants to go up to the right again. So that's what next move is for. As you can see here, it's checking if it needs to move back, and then if it does, it changes that Y direction, which will always make it go back to the position it needs to go to. If not, it will randomly decide if it wants to move on an angle or if it wants to move straight up and down. If it collides the bullet, it does the death animation. So the scorpion does the death animation, and so does the flea. How it did it is when it collides with a bullet, the step gets set to step -6 because there's 6 frames in the instruction, and then I deregister collision with anything, and the sprite is actually just switched to a different sprite, so that it's set to death. It's actually set to a death sprite, so that I can run that animation, and then I can switch it back to the main sprite after that animation is done. So instead of destroying the object and creating a new object that is the explosion, I'm just switching the spider's sprite and making it stop moving, so that for the 6 frames that it's doing that explosion, it is exploding, and then when the explosion's done, the spider disappears. So that's how I ended up doing the destruction of all the different critters. Some of our game managers. So as you can see, this is where it reads. The game manager is reading, the game controller is reading the wave text file. So it's just checking for some tokens to figure out what's what. My wave file looks like this. It is basically a template so that someone can just copy and paste it down below and just change the values. So right now I have 3 written out. It just reads through this and puts them in, but nice and easy, so you can just copy paste below. And then my high score sheet is actually right here as well. Just simple name, points, that's all you need. So it reads through that file, and then it also can then create waves. So when you call create wave, it'll see if it's read the file yet, and if it hasn't, it'll read it. If it already has, then it'll just create a wave. So when it creates a wave, it reads through what wave you're on, and it sets all those values for creating everything. So it creates a spider with that wave speed, creates a scorpion. If it's supposed to be a scorpion, creates a flea that's supposed to be a flea, creates centipede head. So for the centipede head, it actually just goes by how many it wants, and then it creates that many heads. For the centipede, I create the head, and then I pass it how many body parts it should have, along with its speed. For the field, it's just creating a field so that it has the pointer. The same goes here for the splash field. It's creating the field, and then it's also creating the splash HUD. I just wanted them. It's just the easiest way to make sure that those get created in the correct order. And then The last few things on here are the destroy. So it calls all those functions in the factories to destroy all of the items, and then it scans the field to fix all the mushrooms in the field. And then get wave just returns what wave you're on, so that there's a way to get that wave, so you can, if you restart a wave, I can keep getting that same wave back. High score manager, similar, reads the file, gets all those names and puts them into a structure. I can show you the structure for this one. Just the structure's right here. Just structure of waves, size of 20. I only have 3 waves, so I figured 20 was more than enough. So then we have our high score. Reads through, you can get the highest score, you can get the integer of the highest score, so I can compare. This is where it writes back to the document, so that I can put new high score at the top. And otherwise, most of this is just returning the scores for the HUD sake. So then we have the points manager, which is these are all singletons: the game manager, the high score manager, and the points manager I mentioned earlier. So it has the I'm your HUD, which is just calling that HUD and getting its pointer, nullifying HUDs, and then she's got all of its add points. So I can set all the points for all the different things it wants to destroy in here. And I can reset the points back to 0 so that they don't just add up in between different games. Then we have the sound manager, which just loads up all those sounds, sets them if they need the loop or not, and their volumes, and then just all the different play functions I got in there. And then the mute is just sets all the volumes to 0 and sets all the volumes back up to 100 when the home button is pressed. The home button just keeps track if it's just up wolf muted. So if you hit the home button, it's just going to be, if it's done, if it's already a muted game, it'll unmute the game. If it's unmuted game, it'll mute the game. So we have our HUD. So we've got the font, which is breaking down that sprite sheet and getting you all of the stuff that you need with the glyphs, along with the sprite sheet. So this is the flyweight system that is that's going to give me all my letters to draw with in these HUDs. So then I have the HUD writing, which this is the in-game HUD. So it's drawing the draw function is just drawing the symbols at the top for the points, the 2 different types of points, and then the score change, which is called by the points manager, so that it knows when to change points, and then it calls draw. So draw is actually not a virtual; it's just a function I'm using so that I can call draw when I create this HUD, and then whenever the score is changed. So then I can also go with the splash HUD, which is the antiquated modes HUD. So that has all of your high scores, and then it has basically the same thing. It calls draw once when it creates it, because it never changes anything on there. So it just draws the HUD once, and when you create a letter, it adds a tile to where that letter is being drawn. So the tiles are not already put out, they're put out based on where the letters are. Working our way down to the end here, we've got the field. So the field is just a game object that creates the array of all the mushrooms, and then it has the ability to check the field for all the different values and reasons that I mentioned before. For the flea, it can add mushrooms to the field, it can destroy mushrooms from the field, it can add tiles, and then it can also scan the field. The mushroom, it's just game object. When it collides with a bullet, it puts its health down until it needs to destroy itself, and it tells the field to destroy it. And then it also, whenever a mushroom is destroyed, it calls the check player area so that the flea knows that a mushroom's been destroyed, so it should see if there's less than the 5 that it needs, so that it's not constantly checking that player area for how many mushrooms are left. Also there's collision with the spider because it needs to get destroyed whenever that happens, whenever it collides with a spider. And then fix just sets the poison to 0 and its health back to 0 so that it can be a fully healthy mushroom again. The health is just a value that I'm using for the sprite. So when the health gets to 4, it knows to be destroyed, and I can also just set the sprite right here to the health plus the poison. So the poison is a value of 4, which just switches it to that poison sprite on the sheet. The factory, and then you've got the tile. Like I said, tile is just it's a public mushroom that really just doesn't do much. It's just a black square. I created a black square that I can put as this thing's bitmap and sprite, and then I just initialize it. And if it collides with a bullet, just nothing happens. The bullet just gets destroyed on the bullet's end. And then I have a factory for that as well. So then there are the scenes.